Hello there, and welcome to your Forensic Evidence Processing Lab. I am your lab technician, Marguerite. Today, I will be walking you through how we process and catalog different types of evidence sent to us by police departments. I will be using such techniques as dusting for fingerprints, analyzing those fingerprints, testing samples for blood and blood types, experimenting with blood splatter, looking at hair and fiber samples beneath the microscope, and also examining various materials sent to us. If you'll excuse me a moment, I have to ask my intern to leave. I'm about to start a very sensitive murder case, and he just doesn't have the qualifications for it. Alrighty, so today we are actually going to be looking at evidence sent to us by the Amazon.com Police Department. Amazon.com PD is very well known. They are known for shipping their evidence to us in 2 days or less for free if you are a Prime member. So for a low monthly membership fee, we receive all of our evidence in a timely manner. Now, today they have sent us evidence from the Missy Hammond case. So we're going to find out who Missy Hammond was and analyze the evidence that pertains to the crime that occurred against her. Before I begin, I'm going to have to put on gloves so that I do not contaminate the evidence. I use latex gloves now. This was a lesson I learned the hard way when I first started my first week as a lab technician, and I forgot to put on gloves. I was arrested 5 times for various crimes because my fingerprints were on the weapons and the evidence. That was not fun. Now I know, always wear gloves so that you do not cross-contaminate the evidence with your own biological data. Alright, let's begin by seeing what the Amazon PD has sent us in this lovely forensic kit. Alright, the first thing I notice is a file with some information. Evidently, the Amazon PD is, I guess, short of funds a little bit because they can't afford to have real manila folders. So instead, they sent a photocopy of an actual folder on a piece of paper to make me think this was a real folder. Joke's on you, Amazon PD. I recognize this is not a real folder. Good try though, good try. So, this is the Hammond paper I will be looking through. They even photocopied a paper clip to make it look more real. Didn't work. In here we learn that this is Missy Hammond, and this is the Missy Hammond case. Incident number CC0-524-27A-2001. Oxford hairstylist Missy Hammond was found dead in her home. The victim's father, Jonah Dale, discovered the body when Missy's 7-year-old daughter, Liddy, answered the door. It appears that Liddy spent the night in her mother's bed, sleeping next to her mother's dead body. Oh, that's not very good. Initial observations indicate Missy was strangled and had been dead for some time before her body was found. Well, that's fairly traumatizing. So we are going to see what they sent us as evidence to see if we can help solve this case. In their box is a bag entitled Evidence. Evidence. It says to be opened by authorized personnel only. That's me. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors and cut the evidence tape. Let's see what's inside. Oh wow, it's like Christmas, but for a murder. Okay. We have an envelope that says evidence on it. It's a good thing because otherwise I would not know what is in this envelope. It looks like we have a vial that we will be examining in an evidence bag. A vial with some kind of substance that is sealed. We also have what looks like various pieces of material. We will be testing for the presence of blood. And lastly, some kind of informational CD on Missy Hammond. I'll watch that later. So, every crime scene technician needs to have a manual in order to process all the evidence correctly. This manual, called Who Done It, tells me how to analyze various things such as fingerprints, blood spatter, hair and fiber, writing and ink, fraud detection, acid, liquids, and other materials. Today we'll be mainly focusing on fingerprints and blood, and also hair and fiber. So let's look in some of our envelopes to see what we need to catalog and analyze. Once again, this is sealed so that I need to cut it open. And inside, I find another informational CD where it says solution. Apparently, they've already solved the case. Okay, but just for laughs and giggles, they're going to have me analyze the evidence anyway. Okay, Amazon PD, I don't know what you're up to, but we will still go forth with the case, even though evidently you have already solved it. Let's see what else is in here. All right. So, Detective S. Murphy, he has requested to test 3 evidence samples for the presence of blood. Each sample came from a different suspect's home. A positive result might connect a suspect to the crime scene. How interesting. You would think they would test blood evidence at the crime scene, but apparently they go to other people's homes and take evidence from them as well. Evidence items are a pair of pants from one Mr. Steve Kirby, a dress shirt from Maureen Kirby, and a dress shirt from Roger Hammond. He sounds like he might be related to the case in some way. I'm not sure how. Also, we need to dust the evidence sample for fingerprints. Compare the prints that I collect to the 4 known suspect fingerprints. A match will tie a suspect to the crime scene. We hope so. Okay. So let's look and see what we have first. Here it says, cut below the dotted line to open. There's a lot of cutting involved in my job. In fact, when I interviewed for my job, they handed me a pair of scissors and tested out my cutting skills. I cut a few snowflakes for them out of paper and paper dolls and various things, so I think I passed with flying colors. Okay. Let's take our evidence out of the bag. In case I wasn't sure, they put another piece of tape on this to say evidence. Excellent. I might confuse it with something else. Again, Detective Murphy, he asked that I dust the evidence sample for fingerprints. The evidence item is a fingerprint. So I will very carefully peel off the sticker and open the vial. And he has, here we go. So, apparently the suspect, and this is very nice of him to do this, he actually put his fingerprint on a magnifying slide just for the crime evidence lab so we could compare it to other things. And he placed it either at the crime scene or at his own home. That was very nice of him. That was really nice, so that way we could find it and process it. I don't like having to process evidence off of everyday objects. That's too difficult, like a water bottle, a wine glass, clothing, fabric. Luckily, this guy, this murder suspect, put his print right on the slide for me to analyze. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, how are we going to do this? Well, we have a fingerprint brush. It's very fluffy, as you can tell. They also make good makeup brushes, but I would advise that you clean it first before you do that, or else you're going to get fingerprint powder all over your face. That happened to me twice, 2 times. Okay, now we also have bichromatic finger powder, which we will be dusting on the evidence. In addition, we have fingerprint tape and cards. Once again, I will put my cutting skills to the test. And cut this open. If you had some kind of injury and were not able to use a pair of scissors, I say that you would not be able to do this job. It's a very important part of the job. So, here I have tape in order to lift the print and then place it onto the fingerprint card after I fill out the information. So, we're going to very carefully open the fingerprint powder. This does also double as great eyeshadow. I want to plug that, okay? In case you're in a pinch and you run out. I see 2 fingerprints, which I'm going to see if I can bring to life. I see my intern is back. And we will lightly dust one side, which didn't do anything, and then dust the other side, which didn't do anything. So let's put a little more on. And we can use our little blower to blow off the excess. And there I have the prints. So I'm going to take a piece of tape carefully apply it. To lift off the powder and transfer it and then press it to the card to transfer it to the card. Once again, my trusty scissors. I will cut off the excess. And there is our fingerprint. Luckily, the police department has provided us with samples, top secret samples, to compare this fingerprint to. I have various fingerprints. Okay. I have one from an individual that apparently has square fingers, so if they are the suspect, they won't be hard to catch. They'll really stand out in a crowd with those square fingers. And somebody with really skinny fingers. And let's see if we can match the sample by identifying similar characteristics. So in my crime scene manual, I see that fingerprints are individual characteristics. No two people have exactly the same print, including twins. A fingerprint pattern will remain unchanged for the life of an individual. The characteristics that can distinguish one fingerprint from another can be identified by classes. There are 3 specific classes we look for: arches, loops, and whorls. Arches, loops, which are the most common fingerprints, and whorls. There are also various other minutiae or details in fingerprints that may set them apart from others. I will take my magnifying glass and see if I can detect any kind of pattern that may match the suspect prints. And I have found several arches, which I am going to circle. And positively match to one of the suspect